Hi guys, this is Dr. Pritesh Singh and with me is Dr. Rashmi V Kumar who secured rank 5 in plastic surgery in INI-SS exam of October 2023. Congratulations Rashmi. Tell us something about yourself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Rashmi, and I'm from Bangalore. I have done my MBBS from Bangalore Medical College and my MS in General Surgery from JIPMA Pondicherry. My interest was in plastic surgery, and I have given my entrance exam in INI for the same, and I'm here now.
So you started your preparation during your post-graduation only or after completion of post-graduation you started the preparation?
Sir, actually, in during my 3 years of MS, I barely even studied, sir, to be honest. So, because especially in institute like JIPMER, the work is quite hectic, and we have many patients all over South India coming to JIPMER. So at that time, as per my seniors' advice, my focus was mainly on ward management, and I made it a point to, if there was any interesting case, I used to read up to date, sir. So up to date, and I would just go through it briefly at that time. I didn't like not religiously, but as many cases as I could, I would read it on up to date. And I actually started like I was very interested in clinical subjects, sir. So one thing that I did was during my first year, second year, whatever. At that time, I had a tablet. So I used to take down notes of every clinical in each page. So
Okay.
starting from my first year, any clinical case was presented by my seniors. So say obstructive jaundice or breast, CA breast. I used to write down points in that same page for over 3 years.
Right.
So even towards the end for my exams, I just revised those points because your own lecturers giving of those points are much more valuable than what you can read off from the textbook in the last minute.
True.
And at that time, I was very particular that I would want to be clinically a good clinician first. So that was my entire thing during MS. So I made sure that my clinical skills were good. In fact, we had one like a quiz competition organized by SICON. It's called Regional Refreshers Course. So so there'll be a level of MCQs at first. So just to prepare myself, even though I didn't have much time, I read a couple of chapters from your book, sir, and I just gave it. Just let's see what happens. And fortunately, I was also selected for the next zonals.
Okay.
And like out of like 12 people from South India were selected, and I was one of them. So I made sure that my clinical acumen was better at that time. So that's what I would like to advise also. Those 3 years, be good in clinical and ward management and learn procedures. Studying, there's always time. You can always manage it.
But there was one question.
So,
Everybody is not from JIPMER. Somebody is, doing MS surgery from some peripheral medical college where, teaching faculties are not good or so many cases are not good. So what could be your
yes, sir.
advice for those people?
Sir, you can be from any college, but you have to make use of it. So there are now so many YouTube channels, YouTube videos. In fact, I learned my anastomosis. I practiced it because of through a YouTube channel, Learning General Surgery by Dr. Palanivel. There's one very good video on anastomosis. So he teaches on how to, with the help of two socks, how to learn anastomosis. So you can just practice on that. It is much better to practice off table, and then when you come on table, your seniors also will be confident to give you those chances, sir.
Right. Tell me about your strategy. When did you start your preparation for plastic surgery?
Sir, the 3 years of MS, I didn't think much about my entrance or MCH. What next? I didn't think. But I knew that I didn't want to take do SR shape. I was confident by the end of 3 years about my clinical and surgical. So I knew next I'm going to start off with my journey on to MCH. So I passed out in December. Jan Feb I took a break, March onwards, I started, sir. So one thing I'd like to mention is I was able to do that because I had made some good financial decisions during my course of 3 years. So one advice I'd like to give my juniors is during those 3 years, it's good to party, enjoy, whatever, but make sure to have some savings. Either give it to your parents who know how to save it, or learn. There are again many YouTube channels to teach you how to save and all. So you have PPF, mutual funds, shares, stocks, all of it. Try all of it and keep saving so that you can securely give 1 year if needed for preparation without having the burden of, what happens 1 year I won't be earning. And we are not young anymore. All of us are poor 27, 28. Some of us have families. So we need to be financially secure. So for that reason, I would advise that yes, you have to make certain choices during your 3 years of MS. So because I was comfortable with that, I was able to give a break of 1 year. Around March, I started my preparation for NEET. So NEET, I started studying, and one thing which the mistake I made for NEET exam was I thought I can still like how I gave time for NEET PG. At that time, I was able to study 12 to 14 hours, but we cannot anymore. So that we have to face that fact. Maximum 8 hours, maximum 8 hours. Even no matter what you try, you can only study for 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours. On a good day, you can only study 10 hours. So those things I think should be kept in mind. Don't beat yourself up for it if you cannot contribute as many hours as you would want to. So again, so through the journey of NEET, I learned certain things on how to study about spaced repetition and to set a timer on any bad day. Just remember, no matter whatever you do, even if you do poorly, it is worth going to bed happily that night. So that is important to bounce back the next day, even if you didn't do a 1 day of studying well. So that is what I did. But unfortunately, because my NEET, I was not satisfied with my NEET rank. And through over like NEET got postponed that time. NEET SS got postponed by 1 month. So that affected my INI preparation as well, sir. So, but as soon as NEET got over, I took around 2 days break and I started preparing for INI-SS. So I knew that after this exam, I have all the time in the world to enjoy. So I decided that 1 more month I'll just do it. I'll do it, and I pushed myself.
Right. Which books you followed for your NEET SS preparation, and which special books you followed for INI-SS?
Sir, NEET, I mostly read Bailey and Sabiston. That's it. But what matters the most is to do repeated revisions from the textbooks. So
Right.
one mistake which I did, and I would suggest is I made a lot of notes from the textbooks, and I revise my notes. But what happens is it's better to revise the textbook again and again. Most of my friends who've done well have done that. So they have revised Bailey and Sabiston nearly 3, 4 times. But I revised my notes 3, 4 times. But then I missed out on a couple of important points or a drawing that I didn't go through because I was reading from my notes. So textbook matters a lot. It is very important to read textbook, and it is especially if, in MS, during your MS, if you've read 1 hour or 2 hours per day, also if you're able to read, and then you come back and revise. So because you'll have the case scenario in mind, and then it'll be much easier to compile it. So that, yeah, so of course, textbook is very important, sir.
And for INI-SS, did you change the textbooks? Did you follow some other books also, or only Bailey and Sabiston you follow for INI-SS?
So for the general surgery part, whatever preparation from NEET, that's it. That was my general surgery. Because I was quite thorough with the general surgery part. But for INI particularly, one of my seniors who's now in PGI Chandigarh, I borrowed his notes. He got first rank.
Okay.
So he very graciously sent me over his notes via speed post. So I read through his notes, and because I knew that I hadn't read textbook at that time properly, so what I did was McGregor textbook I went through, because plastic surgery you can answer quite a few questions if you know the principles of plastic surgery. So
True.
there is no better book than McGregor, according to me, that tells you, at least at our stage, pre MCH stage, that tells you the principles in a simplified manner. So that so because I read it on my tablet, so all those McGregor pictures, you color coded them and I highlighted them, and all the important points I highlighted, and then after that once the concepts were clear to me, I moved to Grab and Smith. Again, Grab and Smith, like I said, I had about 1 month's time for INI preparation, so I couldn't read the entire textbook. It is a great textbook, but I couldn't read it. So what I did was I went through all the pictures, the entire textbook, all the pictures and the subtext and all the tables. That's it. And in Grab and Smith, there are each chapter comes with about 5 to 6 MCQs. So if you read those MCQs and you read those points, it is like most of the chapters are compiled in those points. And if needed, you can go back and read the paragraphs on that topic. So
Right.
most of the questions also come from those topics only. So that's what I did. I read McGregor, Grab and Smith pictures only, and and my seniors' notes I read, sir. But for AIMS interview and statistics matters in INI a lot. So they ask about 2 to 3 statistics questions. This year they didn't ask any questions, but usually they'll ask about 2 statistics questions. So either you can use your NEET PG notes. Like I said, you have to have a backlog of your notes always. In fact, I've used my anatomy notes for arch of aorta, and here in plastic hand anatomy, upper limb anatomy, lower limb anatomy. I used all my anatomy notes from back then. So keep your notes safely. Don't get rid of anything. And for interview, I read again keynotes in plastic surgery, but very briefly, very
Oh,
superficially. And I watched a lot of previous year recall videos and general surgery recall videos I watched. So
okay. Students specifically want to know about interview process because the newcomers, they are totally naive. They don't
yeah.
know how it starts. So you please explain for the newcomers that how it started, what are the procedures, everything, what is included in the interview process.
Yeah, so what happens is this was my first time giving INI-SS as well. Even I was clueless, and I wish somebody had told me the same. So what happens is once you finish MCQs, you'll have an idea how well you did or how poorly you did. So you can anticipate. So, but the problem is they don't release the post MCQs results soon. So that anxiety will be there. What happens next? And then they release the list of AIMS merit list, like those people who have qualified. First, they release the list of those people who have qualified for like the who have qualified both like who got more than 50% marks. After that, release a list for those who are called for AIMS interview.
Yeah.
So there's a whole process of it, which very professional, very formal. And then once the AIMS interview list, you have about 2 to 3 days time only to prepare for interview. So yeah, I slacked off after my this thing MCQs, but then I should have, yeah. So AIMS interview, once the list is come in 2 to 3 days, they'll let you know when your schedule is. So now it is online, the AIMS interview. So what happens is, at least for plastic surgery, they like it was a little different for some of us. On our my day, there were 5 stations. So they initially asked us about how, like, which college we are from, and how many papers you've presented, have you presented in a conference, co-curricular activities, and all of that. And after that, there'll be like 5 clinical stations. So there'll be pictorial slides. So based on that, they'll ask you a question, very clinical. And I got a picture of radial nerve palsy, then a clinical scenario with a radial nerve palsy. Then they put a picture of Sushruta, and they asked me what book he's written, what he's famous for. And then And then because they asked me why I was interested in plastic surgery. I mentioned that I was interested in breast oncoplasty, which is why I came into. So then they started asking me questions about breast oncoplasty. So you should be very careful what you speak, according to me. So that way, I was done in about 30-40 minutes. But
Okay.
some of my friends who gave, they had multiple stations which went on, like they were put on standby, and then another station, then they were put on standby. So it varies on the day of your interview, actually.
Right. So it was really great interaction. Some, last moment tips for the next upcoming exam, NEET SS, since you prepared for that exam also, and INI-SS also. So how you summarized everything at the end, especially during for revision, because you said that you revised from your notes and most of your friends were revising from the textbooks. So what
Textbooks,
should
yes.
be, yes, your tips for the revision and tips for the preparation of both NEET SS as well as INI-SS?
So first things, for revision, I suggest to go focus on the pictures and the tabular columns and any important points to highlight it. And when you're revising, make sure that at least those highlighted points are like registered in your brain. And how the only way we will know high yield points is by giving lot of grant tests. So you can solve MCQs. I think by people who have already written NEET PG will have an idea about this, but just to reiterate, you can solve MCQs and get to know the points. But when you give grant test is when you're recalling actively and you know that this is where I'm lacking and you go back and read. So especially that give a lot of grad tests. That's what I'd like to say. In any format, any app, if they are giving free for all, especially free for all grad tests, because that's quite representative of your actual rank in the end.
Right.
So free for all grad tests is a must. You must attend those. Or any app that you have subscribed to, keep giving grad tests, and if you're not feeling like studying, give a grad test. That's what I'd like to say. And of course, revision is most important. You could study the whole book. You could take 3 months to study the whole book, but if you don't revise, it's of no use. So you must repeat. You must do repeated revisions, sir, according to me. And like I said, we are not 24 anymore.
Right.
We cannot study for long hours. So you have to have some sort of activity. Go for a walk, eat well, or drink water. And if you don't have enough sleep, then you cannot study. You cannot. So all that should be balanced. That's what I feel.
Okay. Congratulations, Rashmi, again. It was wonderful interaction with you, and I hope most of the students are going to, take huge benefit from this interview and interaction. Okay.
Thank you
Congratulations
so much, sir.
from the whole team PrepLadder.